Amid all the global hullabaloo, righteous pearl-clutching, and interminable headlines, as reams and reams of often redacted Epstein files ooze, or fail to ooze, stickily out of the U.S. Department of Justice and other obscure archives, the fall from grace of the former Prince Andrew, stripped of all his titles and all his bling, drummed down to plain Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has been catastrophic, kinetic, and tragicomical. While determining the rights and wrongs of it all will inevitably unfold excruciatingly in courts and legal corridors for decades to come, the scandal will generate an unending source of post-mortem copy for all strata of the media for just as long. Many of those who have devised the instruments of Andrew's disgrace are now swinging between virtue signaling and bunkering down, racking their collective memories and burning their love letters in the hope of avoiding any Epstein fallout. They ignore one truism at their peril: the most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose. So, this is really a what if. It's a wry and purely hypothetical look at what could happen if the prodigal prince really went rogue. Andrew's a scion of the historically Hanoverian British dynasty, but has now been disgraced, defrocked, defenestrated, and publicly disrobed, to the point where he has little left to lose. So, what if he decides, hang it all, thumb his nose at the British establishment, and his brother King Charles, pulls stumps, and retires, as disgraced royals have done for centuries, to a gilded bolt hole, somewhere appropriately luxurious, but judiciously obscure, such as the Principality of Liechtenstein in the Alps?
Andrew von Battenberg, Saxe-Coburg-Gotha.
A name with bite. Let's start with the makeover. Under UK law, Andrew can legally change his name. A simple deed poll and, voila, out goes Mountbatten Windsor, in comes whatever takes his fancy. He can't magically restore royal style stripped by the monarch, but he can rebrand. And what a brand it could be.
Andrew von Battenberg, Saxe-Coburg-Gotha.
It sounds like a villain in a Bond reboot, but it's rooted in real royal history. Before wartime panic scrubbed the German from the monarchy, the family was Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. The Battenbergs became Mountbattens in 1917, to sound less Kaiser-adjacent. So, dusting off those Teutonic syllables wouldn't be fantasy, it would be dynastic throwback chic. And that little von? It no longer carries legal nobility in modern Germany. It's essentially decorative. But socially? Deliciously grand. If Andrew feels the palace clipped his wings, what better way to spread them than by adding 3 extra surnames and a continental flourish? The scandal that refuses to fade. Here's the uncomfortable truth: no matter what name ends up on his passport, one shadow isn't going anywhere. Andrew's association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has fused itself to his public identity. He has always denied wrongdoing. He was never criminally charged. He settled a U.S. civil case without admitting liability. But in the court of public opinion, the damage was done the moment those photographs went global. Add in his past social links with senior political operator Peter Mandelson, who also faced scrutiny over historic contact with Epstein while denying any wrongdoing, and the whiff of elite entanglement has lingered. Fair or unfair, the association will trail Andrew for the rest of his life. Which raises the question: if Britain won't forget, why not relocate somewhere that might? An alpine escape, or aristocratic revenge? Liechtenstein is no sleepy ski village. It is a jewel-box principality run by one of Europe's richest royal houses. The reigning prince, Hans Adam II, presides over formidable wealth and a monarchy that still wields real political clout. Castles, cash, Constitutional power. If Andrew wanted a setting that quietly declares, "I'm still royal," he could hardly do better. Meanwhile, back in London, King Charles III is slimming down the monarchy, preaching duty, discipline, and restraint. Imagine the contrast. The king tightening belts at home, while his brother appears beneath alpine battlements, styling himself on something or other. It wouldn't trigger a constitutional crisis, but it would raise eyebrows. Could Fergie follow the money to the mountains? You didn't think this story ended without her. Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, has never fully untangled herself from Andrew. They divorced, but they still live together, holiday together, defend each other. And Fergie has never been entirely immune to a glittering lifestyle. Liechtenstein isn't just rich. It's very rich. One of the wealthiest princely families in Europe, rich. The sort of place where fortunes are spoken of in the billions. If Andrew relocated to a land of vaults and velvet ropes, would Fergie really stay behind? Some society watchers are already sketching the picture. A rekindled romance amid snow-capped peaks. The Duke and Duchess, reinvented once more as continental aristocrats. Plausible? Perhaps. On brand? Undeniably. You can change a name, but you cannot outrun the past. You can file paperwork. You can swap surnames. You can relocate to a mountain kingdom. But you cannot deed poll your way out of history. The Epstein saga will remain a permanent footnote in every profile. The infamous interview will not vanish. The headlines will follow, even if the British drizzle does not. Liechtenstein would offer scenery, discretion, perhaps even a certain aristocratic glow. But it would not offer amnesia. So, what would an Alpine reinvention really be? A wounded prince reclaiming grandeur? A defiant brother asserting himself from the margins? Or simply a man determined to live loudly, after being quietly sidelined? There'll be another outpouring of outraged moral and legal posturing. It'll be an absolute bonanza for the tabloids and gutter press. But ultimately, to Andrew's infinite glee, nobody will actually be able to do anything about it. Buckingham Palace would never comment. The king would remain serene. But if Andrew were to appear as Andrew von Battenberg Saxe-Coburg-Gotha with a chalet view and Fergie on his arm, Britain would read between the lines. And the subtext would be clear. You may have taken the titles, but you haven't taken the drama.